Hey foodies, I want to make something really special today, and that's butter tarts. You can see the recipe here, and you can also get the recipe by the link down below or on the Gluten-Free Frankie's website. So this recipe, the butter tart recipe, is one of my favorite recipes to make. A good friend of mine who lived down the road from me when I was a child gave me this recipe, mostly because I begged her for it, but it was just so good, and it stood apart from any other butter tart recipe that I've ever had. And I've tweaked it a little bit here and there just to make it my own, and it's still just as good and just as wonderful. And we need to start with pastry. And I'm starting with Gluten-Free Frankie's all-purpose flour. I've got sugar, salt, eggs, and I've got some butter in the fridge. It's important to keep your butter nice and cold when you're making pastry so that it crumbles and it doesn't melt and become this gloopy mess. So, I want to start with a bowl of sugar, and I'm going to crack my 2 eggs in it. Oh, I got some shell in there. Oh well, there we go. 2, perfect. And I'm just going to mix this up. So the sugar and the eggs will actually start to cook a little bit. But what I'm doing, because I'm using a raw sugar, I just want to get the granules of the sugar a little bit softer so that they melt a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside for a minute, and I'm going to add my flour, my salt, and I'm just going to give that a light stir, and then I'm going to add my butter. And I'm going to mix this butter until small pea-sized pieces of butter start to shape. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to pour in my sugar egg mixture. Now let's get a spatula, that'll make it go better. Look at that, yummy. Okay, and then I'm going to mix it just until it's combined. I might need to add a little bit of water. We'll find out. The nice thing about cooking with, or baking, I should say, gluten-free, is you can beat this to a pulp and it's not going to get tough on you because there's no gluten to cause it to bind. And I can tell you already, I don't need any water. It looks amazing. Okay, actually, I'm going to add, no, I'm not going to add any flour. Okay. I'm going to add the flour when I'm pressing it all out. So it's a little bit sticky. That's what you want. Look at that. This is called a sweet pastry because I've added sugar. And really, if you're making butter tarts, it shouldn't matter if you put sugar in the pastry or not, because it's a butter tart. What I like about the sweet pastry is it really holds together really well. Okay, so I'm gonna get a ice cream scoop. So, not big, okay. And I'm gonna start with one pan, and I'm gonna lightly flour the pan. This is where it gets a little messy. Shake it around, put it out. Okay, so I'm gonna drop in an ice cream scoop of each. Now, if you want, actually I think that's too big. Let's go with something smaller. Let's try this again. That's just too big. Ah, that's better already. So I have this really handy little butter tart press. And I'm going to do most of them that way, but I'm going to do a few other ones so that you can get an idea that you don't have to go out and get the fancy equipment. You can just roll it out with your rolling pin and cut circles and then insert it. And I'll do one or two of the rolled out. So as an example, oh, I'm sticking. You need lots of flour when you're rolling it out. It's another reason why I like this press, because I don't have to worry so much. You can see I didn't even use a rolling pin because it's so easy, and when you're only doing small amounts, you can see there's my butter tart shell. Look at that, easy peasy. Whereas this one, I'm just going to do a little bit more flour just to make sure it doesn't stick. You put a piece of plastic wrap over it, and you squish, you lift, and you've got butter tarts. Look at that. I mean, if you're a butter tart lover, you might want to get one of these, because just saying, look at how quick I did 3 versus the 1. Anyway, I'm going to keep going on this, and then we're going to go on to the next step. Okay, here we go. So, that looks wonderful. I gotta take a break. No, I don't. Okay, so that looks wonderful. I'm gonna set these aside for a minute, because the next step, I need, oh, let me clean this up. Okay, so that's all done. I'm gonna set this aside, because now we need to make our filling for the butter tarts. And for that, I've got butter, eggs, vanilla, brown sugar, salt, and my secret ingredient, maple syrup. Pure Canadian real maple syrup. The original recipe called for corn syrup, but I find maple syrup just adds that little extra pop that we Canadians just love. So you want to start with putting in your butter, and that can be pretty softened. Our vanilla, our sugar, the salt. The reason why you add salt is to bring out the flavor. Our 2 eggs. So we can do that. Oh, look at that, I didn't get a shell in it that time. Another. And then, oh, look at that golden yumminess. Let's just get that out. There we go. Okay, and I just want to mix this up. There we go. I mean, I really beat it with the mixer because I wanted to get a little bit of extra air in there and to really break down the butter so that I didn't have just big clumps of butter in my butter tart. Oh, look at that. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start pouring some of this. You want to fill them, well, not quite that full, about 2/3 of the way. Too much and they'll overflow because they're going to expand a little bit as they bake. And too little and you'll feel a little bit cheated with your butter tart. I thought I needed a spoon for this, but I guess I don't. Oh, look at these, they look great. Okay, let's see if I can use it the last few little bits here and there. Put it there, put it there. That's the one we did by hand. Ooh, that one could use a little tiny bit. So I did have some leftover pastry, and I'm going to do something with it later, and if you want, you can click on one of the links to see what I do with that pastry. But for now, let's just focus on butter tarts. Oh my goodness. Okay, and there's not much left. I don't want to lose any of this. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in the oven and bake it for between 10 to 12 minutes. They're gonna be a little jiggly. I mean, you can see that they're really jiggly right now because I haven't baked them yet. But once they're perfect, I'll pull them out, I'll show them, and then we'll give them a taste. Look at these butter tarts. Oh my goodness, they look scrumptious. And I can't wait to bite into them. Oh, look at that, they come out perfectly. Nice pastry, fills really nicely. Oh, and you're gonna love these. I forgot to mention, you can add pecans or hazelnuts or raisins or chocolate or whatever you really want to into this recipe with a filling, and it's just going to make them different but just as great. I look forward to reading all of your comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.